yourself, let your thumb be a reflection of yourself. All you need sometimes are just 4 people of significance in your life. And that's it. Because you're going to find that outside of yourself, there are only 2 or 3 people that are actually going to be true to you. So you don't need to be looking for outside validation. Alright? Remember this, it's a very, very important lesson. If you can take this and carry it through to the rest of your life, you will understand that you don't need to walk around pleasing people outside of yourself. All you need is just this. Instead of going out and looking for the entire world, sometimes all you just need are 3 people that you need to cover, that will cover you.